So there was a article that caught my eye this morning, and I really kind of wanted to talk about it, just simply because I like talking about this shit. Let's just jump into it. So this GameSpot article I saw this morning was Google Stadia overpromised on its tech, says Take-Two CEO. Strauss Zelnick says the promise of Stadia was an expanded market, but fell short of the ambition, which I just based off of that title and headliner alone, I can completely agree with him. It sounded promising, but one of the big problems I think that Google had was they didn't know how to market it to gamers, and they didn't know how to really tell them what they were going to be getting from the consumer's perspective. However, they did know what they were saying to the developers and the publishers that would be putting the games on Stadia. I just feel like that they did it all too late, and thus has really had a drop off in what Stadia could have been. They were trying to, as many people have said, they really were trying to rush it to market to get ahead of Microsoft, Amazon, and Nvidia, effectively, even though Nvidia has been testing theirs for about 5 years. They have Strauss Zelnick also quoted as, "The streaming technology is upon us. The launch of Stadia has been slow. I think there was some overpromising on what the technology could deliver, and some consumer disappointment as a result." And I would say he's partially right. It was, the launch of Stadia, it has been slow. There's no real games on there, and they're all at exorbitant prices comparatively to what you can get them on other platforms. When they launched Stadia, you could get Red Dead Redemption 2 for full price. You could also get Red Dead Redemption 2 on sale on, I think, the Epic Game Store, as well as their own personal store. So it was just like, why would I buy it on that when I can download it and buy it for cheaper? And a lot of people prefer the downloading method still currently. So it's just one of those things of like, they launched it at such a poor time, too. The problem with Stadia, in my personal opinion, is they haven't known what to do with it from the get-go. It's like the Google team just was like, "Hey, let's break into gaming. Let's do it. Let's do it." And there is a team of people who are interested in the concept of it, but don't truly know what they're doing. And the only reason why I say this is when they first announced Stadia, they had built it up. There was a lot of interest around it. We all thought Google was making a console. There was a lot of interest. They were marketing it well with the teasers. But the minute the live stream started and I started watching it, having the Google CEO come out and go, "I'm not much of a gamer, but I do play a little FIFA here and there." It's like, you're making a gaming platform, but yet you yourself do not understand what they want. It was a very off-putting statement to be like, "Yeah, I don't play video games that much, but I'm doing this thing that it revolves heavily around knowing what's going on in this industry." And I feel like that's where they really lost a lot of consumer base. It's like, okay, so this service is being made by non-gamers for gamers, and it's probably not going to be good as a result of that. You have to be confident when you're talking about gaming stuff, because there are so many other places to get it from, and currently yours is still one of the more newborn options. And the thing about that is just, it doesn't work. You have to be confident with everything, and I know Google knows this, but it's one of those things where I feel like I gotta mention it again, and so there's a few things that are really wrong with Stadia's launch around that, but that is, I think, the first stepping stone where they lost a lot of people. It also, he talked about how it was going to be this revolutionary thing, and this is where I believe the CEO of Take-Two, Mr. Zelnick, is correct, that they really overpromised on what this technology was going to be, and then all of a sudden we're extremely limited when people started getting the pre-order bundles, the early access to it, and we started hearing more information about it. Because if I remember correctly, they started with wanting us to have, all phones were going to be on it. I think the only one they were kind of concerned about was not Android, Apple iOS devices, because they have to work with Apple to get the app on there. And I know Apple kind of has a gaming streaming service, something or other like that. I don't know. It's kind of unclear. But like that was their only like real concern at the time. Whereas any Android device was supposed to have it, so my Note 9 should have been able to handle this streaming service of Stadia. The Google line, they were going to have it on Chrome, which I understand, like, not everybody likes Chrome, but Chrome-based things would have been able to handle it, as well as the Chromecasts were going to be able to handle Stadia. And then it dropped real quick to being Pixel phones only, which they don't have a sizable market share. And it's one of those things of like, why make it Pixel phones only? How are they the only ones that are ready when you make Android effectively? Google is like one of the top dogs of Android. They created it, for fuck's sake. As well as now, like, you need a specific Chromecast in order to make it work, and that still can't handle the streaming properly. You can't use any other types of controllers like they had initially promised. You could only use, like, the Google one, and if you wanted to use it, you had to have it tethered to your computer, so you couldn't just take the controller, walk out into your living room, and use it that way. It ended up being a very, very clunky and not as streamlined service as they were making it out to be. And, you know, those things kind of happen. It is truly unfortunate that that is how that happened. But I feel like it's one of those things of, he's correct, and they overpromise what technology could currently deliver. In a couple years, is it possible that they could have it right? Yeah, but I think it's Google gonna kick the bucket with it. As well as I don't think Stadia is going to really get the support that it needs, because if you go further into the article, which the article is linked below in the description if you would like to check it out, anytime... this is the CEO once again. Anytime you broaden your distribution, you potentially broaden your audience, which is why we supported the release of Stadia with 3 titles initially and will continue to support high-quality streaming services as long as the business model makes sense. Over time, I believe streaming will work. The belief that streaming was going to be transformative was based on the view of there was loads of people who really had an interest in interactive entertainment. We wanted to and really wanted to pay for it, but didn't have a console. I'm not sure that turned out to be the case. So I kind of botched the ending of that reading for it, though. The general gist of that is that Google was selling it to them as like there were people who were interested in getting in on this market, when I don't think there really was. When you think about it, if you wanted to play video games, and if you've wanted to for a long time, you have a couple of options. It's buy a console or buy a PC. And honestly, that's not that crazy of a idea. That's not crazy to people. If I want to play video games and I'm interested in them, usually they're gonna go out at some point and get the console that they want. There's going to be that game or that's something that just like, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to do it. Even if they don't have the money initially. They'll save up. They'll do whatever they need. However, what it sounds like here is that Google was saying that they wanted to, that there were people out there, like they had done the market, they had done the market research, and there were people who wanted to pay for interactive entertainment, i.e. video games, but didn't want or didn't have the console necessary to do it. And of course, and then he's like, I'm not sure that turned out to be the case. Of course, it didn't make sense, because the thing is, not only was how you paid for this service completely dumb, because it was trying to be a streaming service for games, but you had to pay for the premium thing to get the high quality game every month, plus you had to pay full price for the game. No one wants to do that. No one does. But at the same time, if I wanted the experience of a game, and I were looking into the gaming industry right now, I wouldn't be looking to Google. I'd be looking at who's making games right now. What games are on what platforms? And one of the big things here was there were very little cheap games on Stadia, as well as there wasn't a ton of marketing hype around it. It was just kind of there. Now, you look at Sony and the PlayStation. The PlayStation does more than just gaming, but its main focus is gaming. It is in the name PlayStation. Duh. Xbox, Microsoft. They're doing their thing, I suppose. And Nintendo's just been a name brand in gaming for years. For actual years. And then you have Google trying to break into the market, and they just kept stumbling over and over on their feet, which really, really is unfortunate, but it was inevitable because Google kind of half-assed their way into this, which sucks, but at the same time, it kind of, I think, has sealed the fate of what Stadia could be unless they do a massive rebranding or new marketing technique and try and get people to get games on there. They're gonna need some sort of, they're gonna need some sort of method of being like, hey, now you just pay for the subscription and here's the library of games you can play. And they're gonna have to expand onto more Samsung devices, onto iOS devices, onto any laptop, any Chromecast. They're going to need to fulfill what they had initially promised outside of the streaming and stuff. I feel like that could still take a minute, but they need to fulfill the ability to use any type of controller, those basic fundamental things that would make people turn their head who are already in the gaming sphere, because when you look for that and you get that market to kind of shift, you'll get the new people to shift with them because word of mouth will spread. They'll be like, hey, you want to come play this game with me? Sorry, man, I don't have that console. You don't need the console, man. You just need your Chromecast. You just need a controller. You just need whatever. And that'll be the thing that really pivots the whole gaming scene away from more downloadable content. However, I do believe that Steam and these other services that are starting to pop up, like Amazon's going to be doing a gaming service, I guess. Microsoft's working hard with the project. I can't remember what the project name is, but their gaming service. And Steam has just come out with some sort of patent that they're talking with developers about, which is streaming the games on Steam using GeForce Now. It's kind of complicated, and I need to look into it a bit more. But these new ideas that are starting to... They're not exactly new, but they're more developed than I believe Stadia was at its launch. These ideas are going to be the ones that succeed, but Google can say they got to the line first, which, cool, but it's not going to be the one that ultimately succeeds, which does suck, but hopefully they'll get it right one of these days. Anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to just kind of talk about for a little bit here. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, let me know down in the comments below or leave it a like. If you're new to my personal channel here, do subscribe, and if you are interested in more consistent content from me and my friends, please check us out over on That Game Review Show. This will hopefully become a more recurring thing, and I'm going to try and make the quality better as we go, but this is just kind of a proof of concept thing right now. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Again, let me know about any feedback down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.